The night was dark, and the forest was alive with strange sounds. The wind moved through the tall trees, carrying whispers of danger. A human named Daniel ran through the shadows, his breath heavy, his heart beating like a drum. He could feel that something was following him, something powerful, something not from this world. Behind him, the alien Huntress moved with silent steps. Her eyes glowed faintly in the moonlight, and her sharp claws touched the bark of the trees as she passed. She was faster than him, stronger than him, yet she was not rushing. She wanted him to feel the fear of being hunted. Daniel's boots crashed against dry leaves. He looked left and right, searching for a way to escape, but every path he tried seemed to lead back into the deep forest. His chest burned from running. His legs felt weak, and sweat rolled down his face. He knew she was near, closer with every breath. Suddenly, he stopped. His path was blocked. The Huntress stepped out from the shadows. Her tall figure stood between him and freedom. Her skin had a strange shimmer, almost like steel under the moon. Her fangs showed when she snarled, but her eyes betrayed something else. Fear hid behind them. Daniel raised a stick he had picked from the ground. It was useless against her, and he knew it, but he would not give up without a fight. "Stay back," he said, his voice shaking. The Huntress tilted her head, her snarl fading into silence. She looked at him, studying him, almost as if she was unsure. The forest grew quiet around them. No sound of birds, no rustling leaves. Only the two of them facing each other. Daniel's chest rose and fell quickly, but he saw her hands tremble for just a second. The mighty Huntress, the one who had chased him across the forest, was not as fearless as she appeared. She hissed and took a step forward. Daniel moved back. His heel caught a root, and he almost fell, but he kept the stick pointed at her. "Why are you chasing me?" he demanded. The Huntress opened her mouth, but no words came. Instead, her throat rumbled with a low growl. Yet her eyes told a different story. They were not filled with rage. They were filled with conflict. Daniel noticed the fear in her eyes. It was small, almost hidden, but it was there. This confused him. She was the predator, and he was the prey. Why would she be afraid of him, unless something else was going on? The Huntress lunged suddenly. Her claws cut through the air. Daniel ducked, rolling to the side. His heart almost stopped, but when he looked up, he saw her freeze. She had stopped herself from striking him. Her claws were inches from his face, yet she pulled back. Her breathing grew heavy, her eyes wide. She turned her head quickly, as if listening to something deeper in the forest. For a brief moment, Daniel thought he saw true panic on her face. She stepped back, snarling again. But this time her fear was clear. She was not afraid of him. She was afraid of something else, something bigger. Daniel stood slowly, his stick shaking in his hand. "What are you afraid of?" he whispered. The Huntress bared her teeth but did not answer. Instead, she looked past him, into the darkness. Daniel followed her gaze but saw nothing, only shadows moving in the night. The air felt heavier now. The forest seemed to close around them. Daniel realized that whatever had been chasing him was not just her. She too was being hunted. The Huntress growled again, louder this time, but Daniel could hear the weakness in her voice. She wanted to scare him, to control the moment, but she was losing her own strength. Her fear leaked through her eyes, through the shaking of her claws. Daniel's courage grew. If she was afraid, then he had a chance. He stepped forward slowly, lowering the stick. "You don't want to kill me," he said. "Something else is out there, isn't it?" For the first time, the Huntress spoke. Her voice was low, filled with struggle. "You do not understand," she said. Her accent was strange, broken, as if human words were difficult for her. "Run before it finds us." Daniel's blood ran cold. If she, a powerful alien Huntress, was afraid of something else, then what kind of danger was waiting in the shadows? But before he could ask, the forest exploded with sound. Branches cracked, the ground shook slightly, and a scream unlike anything human echoed through the night. The Huntress flinched, her body tense. Daniel felt his legs weaken. His fear grew, but so did his curiosity. He realized the Huntress was not his enemy. She was also trapped in the same nightmare. Her eyes met his again, sharp and glowing. yet trembling with fear. "If you stay," she whispered, "you will die." Daniel's heart raced as he stood frozen between two choices. Should he run deeper into the forest, or stay and face the unknown threat with the alien Huntress? The night around them seemed to grow darker, and the true story of survival was only beginning. Daniel stood frozen in the forest, his chest rising and falling fast. The Huntress was still in front of him, her glowing eyes sharp yet full of something he could not name. She was not attacking, not chasing, but waiting. It was as if she feared the silence around them more than him. The scream from deep inside the woods still echoed in his ears. It was not human, not animal. It was something darker, something ancient. The trees swayed though there was no wind. The air felt heavy, as if the forest itself was warning them to leave. Daniel gripped his broken stick tighter. "What was that?" he asked, his voice cracked. The Huntress did not answer at first. She turned her head, scanning the shadows. Her sharp ears twitched like a predator listening for prey. Yet her claws remained still. Her chest rose and fell faster than before. She finally spoke, her words broken but clear enough. "Not me," she whispered, "not my hunt." Her voice was low, filled with weight. Daniel realized she was not the true danger. She had been hunting, yes, but even she was being hunted by something else. Daniel took a step forward, trying to read her eyes. He saw conflict. She wanted to appear strong. Yet her fear betrayed her. She was not here by choice. He could almost feel it. Her snarl was a mask, but inside she was hiding something. The forest around them shifted. A branch snapped. Heavy footsteps echoed. Daniel spun, pointing his stick toward the sound, but nothing appeared. Only shadows danced between the trees. His skin turned cold. The Huntress growled softly. "It follows," she muttered, her alien accent wrapped around the words. "It comes when dark is full." Daniel frowned. "What follows? Who comes?" he asked, but she refused to meet his eyes. Instead, she backed away until the moonlight lit half her face, and for the first time Daniel saw true fear there. He felt his fear mix with curiosity. He had to know more. "Why chase me if you're afraid too?" he demanded. The Huntress lowered her gaze, her claws flexed, but her voice cracked when she spoke. "I was sent," she said. "Orders: capture human, bring back alive." Daniel's blood froze. She was not hunting for herself. She was following orders. But from who? He asked quickly. "Capture me? For what?" The Huntress shook her head. Her long black hair moved with emotion. Her glowing eyes dimmed slightly. "I cannot say," she hissed. "If I speak, they kill me." Daniel swallowed hard. He could not believe her people had power even here, in this dark forest. His heart pounded. "So you don't want to do this," he said slowly. She looked at him with silence, but her trembling hands answered for her. Suddenly, the heavy steps came again, closer this time. Daniel turned, and this time he saw it, a shadow moving through the trees, tall and twisted, with glowing red lights where eyes should be. His breath caught in his throat. The Huntress hissed, pulling Daniel back. Her claws did not touch him, but she grabbed his arm gently, a strange act for someone who was supposed to be his captor. "Stay quiet," she whispered, her voice almost breaking. "If it hears, we are dead." Daniel pressed his back against a tree. His heart hammered like a drum. He had never felt so powerless. The shadow moved closer, but then it stopped, sniffing the air. The sound was wet and heavy, like an animal searching for blood. The Huntress closed her eyes, her lips moving silently. Daniel realized she was praying, not to him, not to anything human, but to something beyond. She feared this creature more than anything else. After a long moment, the shadow turned away, disappearing deeper into the woods. The forest grew quiet again, but the silence was heavier than before. Daniel exhaled slowly, his body shaking. "What was that?" he whispered. The Huntress opened her eyes. Her glowing gaze met his, and her voice trembled as she said, "The true hunter." Daniel's blood turned cold. If she, a warrior alien trained to hunt, called that thing the true hunter, then he had no chance alone. The Huntress let go of his arm and stepped back. She looked torn between her orders and her fear. Her claws flexed again, and her voice dropped lower. "You must not be here, human. You must leave before it finds again." Daniel stared at her, confused. "If you wanted me captured, why warn me?" he asked. She flinched at his words. Her eyes narrowed, but tears of anger and fear burned behind them. "Because," she said slowly, "I am not sure if I want you dead or safe." Her voice cracked, and for the first time, Daniel saw her as more than a predator. She was a prisoner of her own orders, trapped between loyalty to her people and fear of the monster that hunted them both. The forest whispered again, branches shaking though no wind blew. The huntress hissed and backed away, her eyes scanning the shadows. She looked at Daniel one last time. "Choose, human," she said. "Run or follow me." Daniel's heart pounded. He knew either choice could kill him. But one thing was certain. His life would never be the same again. Daniel stood in the heavy silence, his chest still trembling from fear. The forest seemed alive, breathing around him. But his eyes stayed fixed on the huntress. She had just offered him a choice: run away into the dark or follow her deeper into danger. Neither option promised safety. Yet something in her eyes told him she was fighting her own battle. He decided to follow, his stick still in hand. Though useless, he moved closer. The huntress glanced back at him with surprise. Her glowing eyes narrowed, as if asking why he would risk his life. Daniel swallowed his fear. "If you know the forest better than me," he said, "then staying near you is my best chance." The huntress did not answer. She turned sharply and began walking. Her movements were fast and silent. Daniel followed, struggling to keep up. The forest floor cracked under his boots, while her feet barely touched the ground. Still, she slowed enough to let him stay close, as though some part of her wanted him alive. They moved deeper into the woods. The moonlight broke through the trees in silver patches, casting shadows that looked like claws reaching from the earth. Daniel's skin crawled. He could still feel the presence of a shadow beast that had passed them earlier. Finally, the huntress stopped in a small clearing. Her chest rose and fell as if she had been holding back her breath the whole time. She turned to face him, her voice low, broken. "You want truth," she said. "I will tell you." Daniel nodded, his throat dry. The huntress's sharp gaze softened for the first time. She looked older, heavier, as though the weight of her words hurt more than any battle wound. "I am from Caliph," she began, her accent thick, her voice rough. "My people, they rule with fear, they command, and all obey. I was chosen young, trained to hunt, trained to kill." Daniel's grip on the stick tightened. He had expected her to be strong, but he had not expected her to sound broken. The huntress continued, her glowing eyes drifting away from his. "They sent me here for humans, alive, not dead. Humans are valuable. They say your blood carries something our people need. I do not know truth, but orders are clear. Bring you back." Daniel felt his chest sink. So it was true. She had been ordered to capture him, not just for sport, but for something darker. "And if you don't obey?" he asked quietly. Her face hardened. She lifted her clawed hand and showed him the mark burned into her wrist, a symbol glowing faintly with alien light. "They watch me," she said. "If I fail, this burns, then it kills, no escape." Daniel's stomach twisted. She was trapped by her own people. He realized her fear was not weakness, but the weight of chains, invisible yet unbreakable. She snarled suddenly, angry not at him, but at her fate. "I did not choose this," she hissed. "I do not want to hunt you, but Caliph law is stronger than my will." The forest around them seemed to grow colder. Daniel stepped closer, daring to meet her eyes. "Then why hesitate earlier?" he asked. "You could have killed me when I tripped, but you didn't. Why?" The huntress froze, her sharp jaw clenched. For a long moment she said nothing. Then her voice cracked with a whisper. "Because you looked at me. Not like prey, not like enemy, but like person." Her words hung in the air. Daniel's heart pounded. He saw her pain, her struggle, her humanity buried under alien armor. For the first time, he no longer saw just a hunter. He saw someone trapped, fighting against a destiny she hated. But before Daniel could answer, the forest shook again. A distant roar cut through the night. The ground vibrated under their feet. The huntress's glowing eyes widened in terror. She turned toward the sound, her body stiff. "It comes again," she whispered, her claws flexed, her body ready. But Daniel saw the tremble she could not hide. The roar grew louder, closer. The shadows of the trees bent and twisted as if something massive was moving toward them. Daniel's breath caught. He gripped his stick tighter, though he knew it meant nothing. "Is it the same thing as before?" he asked. The huntress nodded slowly, her jaw tight. "Yes," she said, "that is the true hunter. Caliph made it. Released it here. It follows me to make sure I obey. If I fail to bring you, it takes both of us." Daniel's blood turned to ice. The shadow monster was not just a creature of the wild. It was her people's creation, their leash, their punishment. The huntress took a step closer to him, her voice low and urgent. "Now you see truth. I am not free. I am hunted too. If I cannot bring you back, I die. If I protect you, I die. There is no path without death." Daniel's mind spun. His fear clashed with anger. He understood her now. She was not only his captor, she was a prisoner just like him. The forest shook with the sound of the approaching beast. Daniel's grip on the stick tightened until his knuckles turned white. His chest rose and fell like a storm inside him. The huntress stood in front of him, her claws gleaming under the pale moon. Her snarl was sharp, but the fear in her glowing eyes betrayed her. The roar came again, closer this time. Trees bent as if something massive moved between them. Branches cracked. The earth trembled. Daniel felt as if the ground itself was warning them to run. The huntress hissed and turned to Daniel. "We move," she said quickly. Her words were sharp, rushed. Her voice no longer carried the calm of a predator. It carried the urgency of someone who wanted to survive. Daniel hesitated. "Where?" he asked. She grabbed his wrist with surprising force, pulling him into the shadows. Her speed was inhuman. Daniel stumbled to keep up. Branches scratched his face, roots grabbed at his feet. But she never slowed. Her movements were smooth, practiced, as though she had spent her whole life running through forests like this. Behind them, the beast roared again. This time, Daniel saw its shadow stretch across the trees, tall, twisted, and wrong. Its glowing red eyes burned in the darkness. Daniel's heart nearly stopped. The huntress pulled him harder. "Faster," she hissed. They broke into another clearing. The huntress shoved Daniel behind a fallen tree. She crouched beside him, her body tense, her ears twitched. Listening, the sound of the beast's steps grew louder, closer. It was hunting not by sight, but by sound. Daniel covered his mouth to silence his breathing. His heart thundered so loud, he feared it would give him away. The beast stopped, sniffing the air. A wet, horrible sound came from its throat. The huntress's claws dug into the earth. She was ready to fight if it found them. Daniel's body shook, but he forced himself to stay still. His eyes flicked to the huntress. He saw her jaw tight, sweat glistening on her forehead. She was afraid, but she would not run. The monster let out another roar and moved past them, crashing deeper into the forest. Daniel released a shaky breath. He looked at the huntress. "We can't keep running," he whispered. "It'll find us again." The huntress turned her gaze toward him. Her glowing eyes narrowed. "You are right," she admitted. Her voice was heavy, each word slow. "Running is not enough. We fight." Daniel blinked, shocked. "Fight that thing?" he asked, his voice cracked. She tilted her head. "If we do not, we die anyway." Her words hit him like a stone. He realized she was right. The creature was faster, stronger, and it would not stop. Running forever was impossible. He swallowed hard. But how? The huntress looked around the clearing. Her sharp eyes scanned the ground, the trees, the rocks. "It is strong, but not clever," she said. "It follows scent sound. We use that." Daniel frowned, confused. "A trap?" he asked. The huntress gave a small nod. Her sharp jaw set with determination. "Yes. We make it blind. We strike where it cannot see." Daniel's fear battled with the strange trust growing inside him. This alien woman, once his hunter, was now his only ally. He did not understand why she spared him, but he knew their survival was tied together. They began gathering what little they could. Daniel picked up sharp stones, thick branches. The huntress dug her claws into a tree, ripping bark away to use as cover. Her movements were fast, precise. She worked like a soldier preparing for war. Daniel watched her for a moment, her glowing eyes focused, her breath steady. Despite her fear, she was strong. Every move carried the weight of survival. He shook himself and began working too. Together, they built a crude trap, a pit covered with branches, sharp stones hidden beneath. The Huntress looked at him. Her eyes burned with something new, not just fear but respect. "You are not weak," she said. Her words sounded almost like surprise. Daniel managed a small, tense smile. "I'm not ready to die," he answered. The ground trembled again. The beast was returning. Its roar cut through the night like thunder. Daniel's stomach twisted. He glanced at the Huntress. She crouched low, her claws ready. "When it comes," she whispered, "I strike first, you strike after." Daniel nodded. His hand shook as he gripped his stick. He knew it was useless against such a monster. But he had no choice. His body trembled, but his mind sharpened. The trees split apart as the beast stepped into the clearing. Its body was massive, covered in dark scales. Its glowing red eyes scanned the ground. Its mouth dripped with thick saliva. Daniel felt his heart stop. The Huntress hissed, her body tensed like a coiled spring. The beast sniffed. Its head swung toward them. Daniel held his breath. The Huntress suddenly leaped. Her claws slashed across its face. The monster roared in rage. Daniel screamed and swung his stick at its leg. The strike was weak, but it was enough to distract it. The beast stumbled forward. Its weight crashed into the trap. Branches snapped, and its massive body fell into the pit. The sound was deafening. Dust and dirt flew into the air. The monster thrashed violently, its roars shaking the ground. The Huntress grabbed Daniel's arm, pulling him back. Her chest heaved, her glowing eyes wide. "Not dead," she hissed, "but hurt. We must move." Daniel nodded. His body trembled with adrenaline. He looked at her, sweat dripping from his forehead. "We did that together," he whispered. She stared at him for a long moment, then gave a slow nod. "Alliance," she said simply. For the first time, Daniel felt a strange bond forming. The Huntress, once his predator, was now his partner. They were two prey fighting against a greater predator. And for the first time, survival felt possible. But the beast roared again from the pit, its fury even louder than before. The forest shook. The trap had slowed it, not stopped it. The Huntress met Daniel's eyes. "This is only beginning," she said. And Daniel knew she was right. The forest was no longer quiet. The monster's roars shook the trees, echoing through the night like thunder. Daniel and the Huntress ran side by side, their breaths heavy, their steps fast behind them. The beast fought its way out of the pit, snapping branches, shaking the earth. Daniel's legs ached, his chest burned, but he pushed forward. The Huntress stayed close, her glowing eyes sharp, her body tense. She was a warrior, trained to survive, but he could see the conflict in her face. She had chosen not to deliver him to her people. Not yet. That choice weighed on her as heavily as the beast chasing them. They stopped by a river, its dark water rushing fast. The Huntress crouched low, scanning the trees. Daniel bent over, catching his breath. "We can't keep this up," he whispered. His voice shook. The Huntress looked at him, her eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. "No," she said, "we cannot." There was silence between them, broken only by the sound of the river. Daniel finally asked what had been burning inside him. "Why help me?" he said. "Why fight that thing with me? You were sent to take me, not save me." The Huntress looked away, her claws dug into the dirt. "Because," she said slowly, "I do not want your death on my hands." Her voice cracked, filled with anger, but also something softer. Daniel stepped closer. "But if your people find out," she cut him off sharply. "If they find out I die?" Her honesty shook him. She was risking everything, her orders, her life, even her honor as a Caliph warrior, for him. Daniel studied her face, the faint scars, the tension in her jaw, the flicker of fear in her glowing eyes. She was more than a hunter, more than an enemy. She was someone torn apart inside. The Huntress suddenly stood, pacing near the riverbank. "I was trained to kill without thought, capture without question," she whispered. But you confuse me. You should be prey, weak, afraid, yet you stand beside me, you fight, you look at me like I am not monster. Daniel's heart pounded. He had not meant to, but she was right. He did not see her as a monster. He saw her fear, her struggle, her strength, and in that moment he saw her as more human than alien. She stopped pacing and turned to him, her claws trembling slightly. Her voice was low, softer than before. "Do not look at me like that," she hissed. "It makes me weak." Daniel frowned. "Weak?" he asked. She nodded slowly, her jaw tight. "If I forget my orders, I forget who I am." Her words cut through him. He realized she was not only afraid of the beast or her people, she was afraid of herself, of what she was feeling. Daniel took a careful step closer. "Maybe forgetting isn't weakness," he said. "Maybe it's choice." For a moment, silence filled the air. The Huntress's glowing eyes locked onto his, and in that look, Daniel felt something strange. Not fear, not hate, but a fragile connection. It was dangerous, forbidden, yet it was there. The forest broke the silence with another roar. The beast was close again, crashing through the trees. The ground trembled under its fury. The Huntress pulled her gaze away, snarling. "No more talk," she said. "We move." But Daniel caught her arm. His touch made her freeze. Her sharp eyes snapped to his hand. Her claws flexed as if she might strike. Yet she didn't. She stayed still, trembling slightly. Daniel's voice was low, urgent. "You don't have to be their weapon," he said. "You can choose, just like you chose to fight with me." Her eyes widened, glowing brighter in the dark. She yanked her arm free, snarling louder now. But the sound lacked the force of anger. It sounded like fear. "Stop," she hissed. "Do not speak like that. You know nothing of Caliph, nothing of me." Daniel stood his ground, his voice steady. "Then show me, tell me the truth, not the warrior, not the hunter you." Her breathing grew heavy, her claws curled into fists, her body shook, torn between duty and the pull of something deeper. For a moment, Daniel thought she might attack. But instead, she turned away, whispering so softly he almost didn't hear. "If I tell you, you will see me broken." Daniel stepped closer, his fear gone now. "Then let me see," he said. The Huntress closed her eyes, her jaw trembling. "You are dangerous," she whispered. "Not because of strength, but because you make me forget my fear." Before Daniel could answer, the trees exploded behind them. The beast burst into the clearing, its red eyes glowing with fury. The ground shook under its massive body. The moment between them was gone, ripped apart by the return of death. The Huntress spun, her claws ready. Daniel lifted his stick again, his heart thundered. But this time he did not feel alone. They stood side by side, facing the monster together. And as the beast roared, Daniel realized the truth. They were no longer just hunter and hunted. They were something more, bound by fear, choice, and a desire neither of them fully understood. The beast roared, its red eyes burning in the night. Daniel felt the sound rattle inside his chest. The Huntress stood tall, claws shining, her body tense. For a moment, they were frozen, two fragile figures standing against a storm of fury. The monster charged, breaking trees as if they were twigs. Daniel leapt aside, rolling across the dirt. The Huntress met the beast head-on. Her claws slashed across its face, sparks flying as they scraped against its armored skin. The beast screamed, swinging a massive limb. The strike threw her across the clearing. Daniel shouted her name without thinking. Though he realized he didn't even know it, she landed hard but pushed herself up. Her glowing eyes burned with defiance. Daniel scrambled to his feet, his stick still in his hand. Useless, but all he had. He moved toward her, ready to stand with her again. The beast turned, sniffing the air, its glowing eyes locked onto Daniel. It lowered its head, saliva dripping. Daniel froze, his body screaming to run, but his legs refusing. The Huntress hissed and leapt again, clawing at its back. The beast roared in rage, twisting violently to throw her off. Before it could strike again, a sudden light cut through the forest, a sharp, cold light that did not belong to the moon. Daniel squinted, shielding his eyes. The Huntress froze, her body stiff. She knew that light. It was not the beast, it was something far worse. From between the trees, shadows emerged, but these shadows walked with purpose. Figures clad in dark armor stepped into the clearing. Their glowing weapons hummed with alien power, their eyes hidden behind metallic masks. Daniel's breath caught. He did not need the Huntress to explain. He knew. These were her people. The Huntress snarled, stepping back. Her claws shook, not from fear of the beast, but from the new danger. One of the armored figures raised a hand. His voice echoed, sharp and cruel. "Caliph Huntress," he called. "You fail your mission. You let the human live." Daniel's stomach dropped, his worst fear confirmed. They had not only sent her, they had followed. The beast was not the only leash. Her people had come to finish the job. The Huntress's glowing eyes flicked between Daniel, the beast, and her own kind. Her chest rose and fell fast. "No," she hissed, "the human is mine." Her voice cracked with defiance, but Daniel heard the fear underneath. The leader of the armored Caliph stepped forward. His weapon glowed brighter. "You are weak," he said. "You question orders. You betray Caliph law. There is no place for weakness." Daniel's heart pounded. He understood now. She had not only been afraid of failing, she had been afraid of them. Her people were not allies. They were executioners. Her fear had always been deeper than he realized. The beast roared again. Sensing the tension, it lunged toward the group. But the Caliph soldiers did not flinch. They fired their weapons, beams of light striking the monster's body. The beast screamed, thrashing, yet it did not fall. Its armored hide absorbed the blasts. It turned its rage on everyone in the clearing. Chaos exploded. The soldiers fired. The beast attacked. The Huntress grabbed Daniel's arm and pulled him into the shadows. Her voice sharp. "Stay close," she hissed. Daniel stumbled after her, his mind spinning. "They're your people," he whispered. "Why hide from them?" Her claws tightened around his wrist. "Because," she said, her voice breaking, "they want me dead too." Daniel froze, pulling her to a stop. "What?" he asked. His voice was barely a whisper. She looked at him, her glowing eyes heavy with truth. "I disobeyed," she said. "I should have killed you or bound you. Instead, I protected you. That is betrayal to Caliph now. I am enemy too." The weight of her words hit Daniel like a blade. She was no longer his hunter. She was a fugitive, trapped like him. They were both prey now, hunted by beast and alien soldiers alike. The forest lit up with more flashes of light. The beast struck one of the soldiers, crushing him under its massive limb. Another soldier screamed as claws ripped through his armor. Daniel's stomach turned. He wanted to look away, but the Huntress kept pulling him deeper into the trees. They stopped only when the chaos was far behind. Daniel leaned against a tree, his chest heaving. "So now what?" he asked. His voice shook with fear and anger. The Huntress stared into the shadows, her face unreadable. "Now," she said slowly, "we choose sides." Daniel frowned. "What sides?" She turned to him, her eyes glowing brighter than ever. "The beast hunts all, but Caliph will never stop. If they take you, you'll be nothing but tool. If they take me, I die. Our only chance is together." Her voice shook at the last word. Daniel realized she was admitting something she had never allowed herself to say. She needed him. Not as prey, not as mission, but as ally. Daniel's throat tightened. He stepped closer. "Then I stand with you," he said. His words were quiet but firm. The Huntress blinked, her sharp eyes softening for the briefest moment. Then she nodded. "Then you are no longer prey," she whispered. "You are warrior." In the distance, the beast roared again. The sound mixed with the cold voices of Caliph soldiers. The forest was now a battlefield. Daniel and the Huntress were no longer running from each other. They were running from everyone else. And in the shadows of the trees, the line between fear and trust finally broke. They were not enemies anymore. They were allies standing against the same doom. The forest was burning with chaos. The roars of the beast mixed with the sharp hum of Caliph weapons. Every flash of light turned the night into fire. Daniel and the Huntress crouched in the shadows, their bodies tense, their breaths quick. The Huntress's claws dug into the earth as she listened to the war behind them. Her glowing eyes burned with conflict. She had once belonged to those soldiers. She had once followed those orders. Now they wanted her dead. Now she stood with a human instead. Daniel's chest rose and fell hard. His mind screamed for him to run, to find safety. But there was no safety left. The beast would not stop. The Kalis soldiers would not stop. Survival meant fighting, and for the first time in his life, he was ready. The Huntress turned to him, her sharp face glowing under the broken moonlight. "This ends tonight," she whispered, her voice shook, not from fear but from decision. Daniel nodded, his throat dry. "Then we end it together," he said. The ground shook again as the beast stormed through the trees. Its massive body crushed the forest. Its red eyes burned like fire. The soldiers surrounded it, firing again and again. Their weapons cut into its skin, but the monster only grew angrier. Its roar shattered branches. Its claws ripped through armor like paper. The Huntress stood tall, her claws ready. Daniel lifted his stick, trembling but steady. They moved closer, step by step, toward the battlefield. The smell of smoke and blood filled the air. The Huntress hissed, "We strike when it weakens." One of the soldiers noticed them, his weapon lifted, glowing with deadly light. The Huntress leapt forward, faster than Daniel could see. Her claws slashed across the soldier's mask. Sparks flying, the soldier collapsed, his weapon falling to the ground. Daniel stared at it, realizing what it meant. He dropped his stick and picked up the alien weapon. It was heavy, humming with strange energy. His fingers shook as he pointed it forward. The Huntress gave a sharp nod. "Now you fight like warrior," she said. The beast roared again, blood dripping from its wounds. But it did not fall. It turned, charging at the nearest soldier. The ground cracked under its weight. Daniel raised the weapon, his breath stuck in his throat. He fired. A burst of light exploded from the weapon and struck the beast's shoulder. The monster howled, staggering back. Daniel's arms shook from the force. The Huntress leapt onto the beast, her claws digging deep into its neck. She roared, her voice echoing like thunder. The beast thrashed, trying to shake her off. Daniel fired again, the blast tearing into its chest. The soldiers, confused, turned their weapons on both of them. "Traitor," one shouted. "The Huntress betrays Caliph." Their fire lit up the night. Beams of light tore through the forest. The Huntress dropped from the beast's back and pulled Daniel into cover. "Stay low," she hissed. Daniel's heart raced. "They're fighting us and the beast," he gasped. The Huntress's glowing eyes locked onto his, fierce and determined. "Then we make them choose," she said, her claws pointed toward the monster. "If it lives, we all die. If it falls, only Caliph remain. Then we take last stand." Daniel swallowed his fear and nodded. They stood together, no longer hunter and hunted, but partners. The beast roared again, charging forward. Daniel and the Huntress broke from cover, firing and slashing. Their strikes hit harder now, filled with desperation and unity. The ground shook with every step of the monster. Soldiers screamed as they were crushed. Light exploded as weapons fired. Daniel aimed for the beast's head. His shot burst through one glowing red eye. The creature howled, its massive body thrashing. The Huntress climbed its back once more, driving her claws deep. The beast staggered, crashing into the trees. Its roars grew weaker. Its body shook. Finally, with one last scream, it collapsed. The earth shook as it hit the ground. Silence followed, broken only by the heavy breaths of those still alive. Daniel fell to his knees, his chest heaving. The weapon slipped from his hands. The Huntress stood above him, blood and dirt covering her body. Her glowing eyes burned with victory, but also with sorrow. She looked at him and whispered, "It is done." But the silence did not last. The remaining Kala soldiers turned their weapons toward them. Their leader stepped forward, his voice sharp. "You are no longer Caliph," he spat at the Huntress. "You are nothing." The Huntress snarled, standing tall, her claws flexed. Daniel struggled to his feet. Moving beside her, he had no weapon left, but he would not stand behind her this time. He stood at her side, ready. The leader raised his weapon, but then hesitated. His gaze moved from the dead beast to the human standing with the alien Huntress. For the first time, there was doubt in his voice. "Perhaps there is more to this human," he said, his tone dark, filled with hate. "But Caliph will not forget this." With a sharp signal, The soldiers vanished back into the forest, their glowing lights fading into the night. The huntress let out a long breath, her body finally relaxing. Daniel collapsed against a tree, exhausted. "We survived," he whispered. The huntress looked down at him, her eyes glowing softer now. "Yes," she said, "but this is only beginning." Daniel met her gaze, and for the first time, he did not see a predator. He saw a partner. Their war with the beast was over, but their fight against her people, against fate itself, was only starting. And in that broken forest, under the shattered moonlight, a human and an alien stood together, not as enemies, not as prey and hunter, but as allies who had chosen each other.